Jesse's up.
Chance to run by.
Call this March 14th meeting of the Riley County Commission to order. Please everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Did we lose the video or is that just
I'm gonna check the feed and make sure, but I think.
hold on just a second here?
Clancy, can you be sure it's working?
Yeah. But no, we got he's here, yes. I see Clancy. I think it says IT underneath there, underneath.
You know,
his
when I
name,
listen
doesn't
to
it?
this live,
Listen,
when I was up
sitting way over here.
this
I'm
microphone
close enough to
picks you
stand.
up.
Yeah.
Every time you laugh, it just
Everything's working.
turn it a little bit.
Appears to be everything's working, so we're
But
good.
it picks up everything you say.
So hopefully everybody got.
Well, I didn't mean to go
We're
that.
gonna have to put you guys in the corner this morning already at 8:30.
No, I was
Yeah,
just making
possibly.
comments on the webpage. It was
Oh.
looking at the microphone right there, like everything what it says. So, and cackles and
That's just because he's kind of loud.
laughs and stuff. Yeah.
This is kind of loud.
Pick up mine.
Yeah, this is big.
Well, hopefully, everybody made it through last night's storms okay. I was just glad for some rain, but, not much for hail, so. With that said, we'll move on to some public comments this morning. Probably speaking of weather.
I love that you associate me with weather. It's awesome.
We just always expect you to.
Bad weather.
Weather.
Weather, bad weather.
All right. Lori Harrison, Riley County Assistant Director of Emergency Management. So we did have some storms come through last night. We activated the Emergency Operations Center. We had Vivian join us as the Public Information Officer. Josh Gehring joined us from Emergency Medical. Kurt Mulder from the PD, and then John Klimek from the ham radio group. So we had spotters out. But what I wanted to talk about today was in case you receive comments from the public, we did have an issue with receiving alerts from the National Weather Service. And so we've not real sure where that disconnect is, if it's on the Weather Service side or the Everbridge side, or we weren't even getting notices in dispatch through their KPI system. So we just want to let you know that we work with what we have. We encourage folks to have multiple ways of being notified just because of this incident. So if one way of notification goes down, have a backup and then another backup and another backup to get that information. So we did what we could. We were pushing stuff out on social media. I think we did okay, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows you need multiple ways of being notified, and then for you all to know that that's what happened. So if someone comments, you can respond knowing what the situation was. Do you have any questions?
No, just observation on it. I think everybody was just kind of like, why are we receiving messages from KBI?
Well, we receive those at dispatch, and then that pushes through the system, but it's a National Weather Service link, I think, is what
Okay.
was broken, but
Okay.
we've got people looking into it to figure it out, and hopefully they'll get it fixed.
Okay, well, it's early.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Reports of, so in dispatch, they weren't receiving many reports of damage or problems in Riley County. We had some heavy rainfall, but no reports of injury, no major damage, at least called into dispatch. So we fared pretty well. And I think in the north part of the county, they didn't even get much rain
No, we
last night. So it stayed pretty much to the south, and thinking about those folks over in Labunsee who had quite a bit of work. So good reminder for them to freshen up their plans, communicate with their family and households, about what to do in case of emergency and in case severe weather strikes, whether you're at home, at school, at work, on the road. You have to have several ways to, in Kansas, have several ways to know what's going on weather-wise. So just encourage everybody to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Our friends over in Wabunsee County look like they took the brunt. I've seen some pictures of had a pretty good wedge tornado go through there and get a couple of rural farms. So, yeah, some
And we got like 10th of an inch of rain.
really, yeah. I didn't check my rain gauge this morning, but I think that inch estimate probably looks about right.
Yeah, they said
Yeah.
they had an inch, but
Yeah,
there
I,
was a line and it just didn't take it down. It just here and then met with.
Yeah.
I didn't get my gauge out in time. It would have blown away anyway. But, it was pretty windy at my house.
I was just worried about hail when I'd seen some pretty good pictures from Ogden, St. George, just kind of scattered area, but it looked like the worst of it kept to the south this time.
It was small. I had a lot of hail in my neighborhood, but it was like pebble size.
Mhm. Well, it's early March. We got a ways to go. For sure.
Starting season.
Mhm. Okay. We have any other public comments? Yeah, I already got the email.
I'd like to ask the board to add an executive session to my administrative.
I would make a motion that we add an executive session to Clancy Holman's administrative work session time.
A second.
Yeah, been moved and seconded to add a executive session to Clancy Holman's administrative work session time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anything else from anybody? Is anybody on Zoom? We'll go ahead and close off public comment. We'll move on to commission comments and Commissioner McKinley.
Okay. Well, Monday, I was in Topeka, testified for that, for Senate Bill 162, which is a nuisance abatement bill. The only opponent was a written letter from, and several proponents spoke on it. I thought, and they had some questions, but I think, went well. And then I guess yesterday it passed out of committee. So hopefully that'll keep going.
Further than it's been.
Yeah, but it's been, like I say, again, like the chairman of that committee is from Sedgwick County, so he's familiar with it too. So it went well, I think. And Monday afternoon was the county officials meeting, went over several meetings, got into a lot of IT stuff, phones. Phones were a big discussion. And then Tuesday, met with the budget planning committee to review what's wanted, what we planning for the retreat, the scope of it, where and stuff. And that's what I've got.
Okay, Commissioner Foki.
Okay, well, Monday I too attended the county officials meeting in the afternoon. Good discussion was held concerning the various departments and their upcoming needs for personnel and other budget requests. I thought it was a really good discussion. I always enjoy getting all the department heads together or the county officials together and with their, you get the conversation going. So, let me see. That evening I attended a choir concert at my church that was put on by Bethany College, which was really good. Yeah, they were on the last leg of their tour. So they were really good, a good young group of people. So Tuesday morning, I was on K-Man's On Focus radio program, and we discussed a lot of topics.
I bet.
So it was a good discussion, and no phone calls came in, which was kind of unusual. I usually get one or two, but it's going to be anything. Wednesday morning, I met with the Budget and Planning Committee regarding possible plans for a retreat and a facilitator to help lead a discussion on upcoming needs for the county and facilities and personnel. Then afterwards, I voted early upstairs, went to my office to go over mail and reviewed today's meetings, emails, and phone calls. So, didn't stay too long because they were going to be holding a provisional ballot training session in here. Let's see, Wednesday evening, I attended Lenten services at my church. We got out just in time for me to rush home and get in the garage and make sure that the shelter was in order. And fortunately, we didn't get that weather that they got down south. So. I'm continuing PT 3 times a week plus home exercises, gradually getting more mobility and strength and can walk a little further. So it's good news. So anyway, that's all I've got.
Okay. As for me, I too attended the county officials luncheon. I think you guys pretty well covered that. So I did want to give a shout out to Kelsey and Will at Little Apple Nutrition for providing us with the afternoon snack. Hopefully that went over pretty well. Also Monday, I met with the Budget and Finance Committee as well. The discussions on the facilitators. We work on a strategic planning retreat later on down the road. Wednesday morning, as I was working, I stuck the earbuds in and listened to the WebEx on the House Local Government Committee. They were discussing SB 364, I think first. It was a rural EMS training regulations bill. You wouldn't think that would have much clout here, but actually that's something probably need to pay attention to. To be honest with you, it's just do we have only one person that's trained in EMS in the rural setting? Yeah, or do you need the extra? And what are the logistics of all that? Probably not a huge deal here, as I think everybody's pretty well trained. But if you're in Thomas County or Sherman County or something like that, it's kind of a big deal. So there's quite a bit of a discussion on that. And then, of course, the main reason why I was listening was to get caught up on SB 162. And I think it was good to have the people from Sedgwick County and Crawford County on that committee, as well as Riley County and Gary County too. It passed favorably out of committee. I think the microphone system there isn't great for the WebEx, so it's kind of hard to hear everybody outside the chair and the vice chair. But I think there was only really one person that was kind of in flux, I'm going to say. I don't know.
Well, there's probably two.
Was there two? Okay. They didn't go around and say yay, nay, or do a up and down type of vote. There seemed to be one abstention, and then the other was maybe one other person that was kind of on the fence about it. And long story short, it passed overwhelmingly on the favorability side. So I'm feeling pretty confident about it. I guess the only concern I would have would be if it goes to the House and they start splitting it up or stick amendments or something to it, then it's all bets are off at that point in time. But outside of that, I don't see it being a big deal at this point in time. So that was good. I just wanted to see what the general consensus of the part of the discussion is, and really wasn't any different than on the Senate side for the most part. So good there. Also Wednesday afternoon, I had my normal March national teams call with the NACO's Community Economic and Workforce Development Committee. Had some opening remarks from our chair, Commissioner Martha Schrader from Clackamas County, Oregon. I just always like putting that in there, as I usually say. Yeah, Clackamas County. And that's been in the news here recently too. They've and involved in a pretty big property rights lawsuit too, making it through the not district court, not appellate court. What's the other one?
Their system, I have no idea.
9th district.
Oh, federal system. It's in their circuit
Court. Yeah.
Okay.
So, it's a somewhat of a big deal there, I guess. Anyway, long story short, we had two presentations. One was, and I'm going to chop this name up. Sabetha's. I'm not even going to try. She's a deputy director from the Domestic Housing Future Land and Housing Program with New America. She discussed several foreclosure and eviction analysis tools and updates through their program. The second speaker was Josh Brandonwith. He's the policy director for the National Association for County Community and Economic Development. He discussed and proposed some new CDBG rules and overviews, and how they're putting together a joint comment letter together with NACO and some other agencies that they're going to present to the appropriate committees up on Capitol Hill. Michael Matthews, our legislative director for the committee and for NACO, gave us his usual monthly legislative update for Capitol Hill. Probably for the first time in months, it was actually positive for a change. It's been not so good there. And then we had somewhat of a open discussion. There's several counties around the country that are just trying some new things and just wanted to discuss it. We'll meet again via Teams in April. And then last night, I attended the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce Business After Hours. It's over at the Greater Manhattan Community Foundation across the way. It's great to just have the chance to network with some members in the business community and kind of hear what the Greater Community Foundation is working on. Annual Grow Green Day will be once again next month, excuse me, and celebrating 25 years of service in the community. It's gone by pretty quick. Got a plaque and some discussion on that too. So they do good work. They've got a good group over there, passionate about what they're doing. K-State won last night. Hopefully they win again. I guess we've already discussed the weather enough, so that's all I've got.
Ready for business, commissioners?
Yeah.
Need a motion to approve county special alcohol fund allocation for the 21st Judicial District Drug Court in the amount of $5,616.
That's it. It's not very much.
No.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's-
Yeah.
Seems like it's even down maybe a little bit. I don't know.
I'd move to, move to approve the 5,616 for the district drug court.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the $5,616 for the 22nd Judicial Drug Court. All in favor?
Aye.
Need a motion to sign the notice of the Township Board for cereal malt beverage license for Britt's Farm, 1000 South Scenic Drive.
Okay, I would make a motion to sign the notice to the Township Board on the cereal malt beverage license for Britt's Farm on 1000 South Scenic Drive.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the notice to the Township Board for the cereal malt beverage license for Britt's Farm. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, please sign.
It's kind of at the very bottom there.
Yeah, there's two there, John.
Yeah.
Next, need a motion on tax roll correction.
Those again? Thought we were done with all those.
Yeah. Two more on Monday.
Just kidding.
Okay,
They come and go, I know.
it's slowing down.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve the tax roll correction as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the tax rolls correction as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair, please sign. Next, Riley County Personnel Action Forms, Lauren Barella, new hire, Human Resources Clerical Assistant, Clerk Selections Department, Alex Bauer, Volunteer Firefighter Stipend, Riley County Fire District. All three signed, please. Commissioners have any topics for intergovernmental luncheon?
Do not.
Now, when is it? What day?
No, it's
25th, isn't it?
Let's see, 25th, yeah, that'd be right. All want to attend?
Please.
Well, if I'm not in having a procedure up on me, I will be there.
Okay,
That's still up in the air.
Clancy?
no thanks. I think sign that one with the It's Pie Day.
Yes. That's why I'm getting all the ads from Pizza Hut. Now it makes sense.
Oh,
National Pie Day.
That was tradition for the chair to bring pie on Pie Day. When it fell on Pie Day.
Yeah, we need some.
I did on Monday. You just didn't see it.
Well, that wasn't National Pie Day.
Yeah, she has a good point. Hard to argue with
Yeah, I
that.
can make a phone call here later and have some pie delivered.
Pie is good.
It actually is.
Any items for the joint city county meeting?
No. There's gonna be a topic on there at some point in time coming from the Flint Hills Mental Health Task Force. Just to give everybody a heads up.
Commissioners, your annual conference is April 16th through the 18th in Pittsburgh, Kansas, USA. Would all of you like to attend? And if so, nights, and
I thought we already had that taken care of.
is it all taken care of already?
Yeah, I already have a confirmation.
Okay, you got it.
You asked.
All of you are gonna attend?
No.
I've
You're
got
not, Catherine.
it. Pretty sure. I have confirmation.
Yeah, I got.
Yeah, I already got a confirmation on it.
Too much.
Also, we just talked a little bit last week about the Kansas Water Resources and Keats funding and all that. So the state was overwhelmed, so they have contracted out with Widow Bryant's to do the analysis on all of those, and they should be awarding the end of March, 1st of April. So the state was overwhelmed, as you had reported. They had gotten so many, so they contracted out with Widow Bryant's to do the analysis. And I asked our contact at Widow Bryant's to get us their names and numbers so we could send them cookies. But she laughed. As you know, we meet with them weekly, so.
Yeah.
Well, then.
Add our application to a box of cookies.
Commissioners have any changes to the minutes?
I did.
Didn't see anything. You want to make the motion?
Okay. I'm gonna approve the minutes of the March 11th meeting.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from the March 11th meeting, Riley County Commission as written. All in favor?
Aye.
The tentative agendas, look, commissioners have one on Friday, remember, commissioners, for the executive sessions.
And I think if I remember right on the special meetings, person who asked for those special meetings is required to bring lunch. Isn't that right?
I agree.
Yeah.
She is away.
Hey, I said it, yeah.
She got to thinking they're talking Clancy. No, maybe me.
Reading John Ellerman's, like, he has a lot of questions on the policy. There is something coming, but it's not much.
Okay.
Oh, really?
That's scary.
Okay.
Commissioner McKinley can probably guess what it is.
Any items? Go ahead.
That's for lobster and steak, and I mean, it's all a little extravagant for a 20-minute lunch situation.
20 minutes?
Well, I mean,
We're gonna be here for 2 hours.
you're gonna be in interviews. Are you eating while you interview?
Sure.
You're up all those at that?
Exactly.
You
That's
know,
what I was thinking.
famished interviews can make you.
Right. You know how many of these I've been through? I've got it down pat. I know how to do this.
Good job, Brian.
Well,
I can't
they're all pretty on board. I mean, I guess.
I can't get here before then.
Any items for the press conference, commissioners?
No.
Okay, Mr. Holman is up at 9 o'clock, I believe, for an executive session.
Oh, boy.
Okay.
No, that's right. There's only one on there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
You're almost, I saw this. What?
What?
Oh, yeah, there was a, one right there, so, yeah.
Would be a Thursday without some executive sessions.
there's some small college team that they project is gonna make the NCAA that only has like 7 players on the roster.
Yeah.
And it's a smaller college. I didn't catch the name.
That's what's fun about the NCAA tournament, though. It's those
No, for
stories
sure.
are in it so much.
Did you see they're talking about trying to expand it again?
Yeah, they are.
Ridiculous.
Before you know it, everybody's just gonna.
It's
end up
already
playing
too
in it.
many, I need to go back to 64.
I agree.
Extra 4.
The first couple of years they did that, those playing games were kind of fun, and now it's like they're almost blowouts.
Well, but instead of doing the bottom, they're trying to do the middle ones.
Yeah.
Which kind of,
You get the supposed 11 seeds or whatnot, and it's like a Power 5, middle of the road Power 5 school that year versus Stony Brook or something, and they're not games anymore, and it's just.
So we watch the game tonight?
Yeah.
What time the game start today?
Probably like noon or 1 o'clock.
because they got 4 games today.
Be fun to go to sometime.
I've been to one. I've like 2006, 2007. It's fun.
Mhm.
You get there early and like do lunch and stuff, and then do the games, and then take a mid-afternoon break and walk around the Power and Light District and
Yeah,
come back for the evening session. They got it broken up pretty good.
yeah, it would be fun.
Used to like to go to the old Christmas tournament.
I've done that the Wildcat Classic. I've done that a few
No.
years too.
Big 8 used to have before the preseason tournament, a week right after Christmas, and all 8 teams, the 8 teams would come and they'd play everybody, and you didn't, you're gonna play 3 games. It was a bracket and that played all the games, so there was 4 games every day, 3 days in a row.
Like
That'd be
like a
cool.
preliminary Big 8 tournament.
Yeah, it was the Big 8. Well, then they started the postseason tournament.
Uh-huh.
Everybody went to postseason tournament, so they took the lead. They used to have that all the time in Kansas City. I say it was the week after between Christmas and New Year's.
Is that a memorial before Kemper?
Yeah. And they did both of the preseason and postseason for a couple of years. And then,
Assume you're going to full time, Clancy.
That person. That person, that deputy over there.
Yeah.
Okay. I move the county commission, including Chair Ford, Vice Chairman McKinley, and Commissioner Foki, recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Shelley Woodard, Deputy County Counselor, attorney for the commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, an exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. Open meeting to resume in the county commission chamber at 9:20 a.m.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded that the Board of County Commissioners move into executive session for the matter of purposes of potential litigation until 9:20 a.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Microphones in
Somebody
video
else
are
said
back on.
something.
Yeah.
Well, it's worth a try.
Yeah. So that I think we can talk about that, but yeah. It's worth it. See that. Um, Move the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded the Board of County Commissioners to out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Move the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in the executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, Commissioners, we have bid opening.
Station truck scale.
Okay, we have bid opening this morning for transfer station truck scales. And the first one I've got is from Salina Scale in Salina, Kansas. Okay, looks like the make model is the B Tech Duratron. I think I got that right. Base bid I am showing here, everything included is 97,651.
Is that for how many scales? Is that one scale?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the, it's for the bid, it's to test and calibrate, installation, the actual scale, so on and so forth. And you can see here, delivery date. January 2025. Installation time would be about 2 days.
I just did some slide scales. Total price 97,651. Estimated delivery date January of 2025. Estimated installation time of 2 days. Big VTEC scales.
Yeah. Second one I have is from WH Scale Company in Topeka, Kansas. Survivor OTR series is the make and model. Looks like the delivery date would be July 12th, 2024. Says, installation date would be July 14th, so I'm assuming that's 2 days if my math is correct. Total bid I'm showing in here on this sheet would be $49,900.
Wow. It's quite a
Sure.
difference.
I'm missing something else here. And there's also last year's check. Yeah.
They would have had the same specs, right?
There was a base spec, but they needed to be anything above that would work. Just with so many different brands of scales.
Yeah.
Different.
But there's huge difference here.
The Rocker OTR series. The delivery date, July 12th, 24, installation July 14th of 24. Total price $49,900.
Okay. So that's all that we had.
Yeah.
Then I would make a motion to refer the two bids back to staff to evaluate and recommend it.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to send these bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That your copy I'm smelling, Vincent?
Probably. It smells like caramel.
It does.
Yours, sir. Thanks.
You always get the aroma right. That's about any coffee, but then the taste, at least I taste it like, well, it doesn't taste like caramel.
No. Amazing all the stuff we have to put into coffee to make it taste not like coffee.
Because they don't, for me, they don't manage to do that unless it's a bad taste, then it's still.
Hi, Shiloh. Good deal.
How's everybody today?
Good.
Any hail damage or anything?
Mm-mm.
Barely got it.
Oh, really?
I got a lot of pea-sized hail, but I haven't had just.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
mean,
there
not
was
very
damage.
much either.
It came
Some
down pretty
rain,
hard.
But
What was
We got
that
thunder
big
and
bank
lightning
of
that just-
clouds this morning? Did you see
I
that?
see a lot of thunder and
I
lightning.
did not. When I was coming in, it was dark, so
Oh,
did
well,
not.
It was very long, what feels like I'm in the mountains. That
exactly,
big-
I
what
thought
was
the
that?
exact same
Oh, that
thing.
line of clouds, yeah.
Yeah,
It
big
was-
flood back there. It was really strange, like,
Pick at the beginning. At least in our neighborhoods.
And Cats won last night, that's a.
Yep, really good. Makes tonight more fun.
He gave you one, so.
Oh.
Came out by a little.
Yeah.
We did get 3 inches.
They stuck closer than their last game.
9:30, yeah.
Good morning, Commissioner Shiloh Hager, Riley County Treasurer with the February revenue report. The month of February, we're trucking along, month 2.
We have a balance in the general fund of 23,448,063. And we have a total fund balance of 83,479,446.78. Currently, we are carrying 13,202,872 in ARPA funds as of the end of February. Investment income, our rate on the active checking account is still pretty steady at 5.46%. As of the end of February, we have a net interest amount into the general fund of $672,114.58. And I'll just and that's 33.61% of what has been budgeted year to date. But I will just remind you that every quarter we do make a transfer out into these various funds up here, capital improvement, emergency. These statutorily get a portion of that interest. So even though it looks like we're pretty far ahead of budget, we will be making that interest transfer at the end of March. So just keep that in mind as you look at these numbers. But we're still ahead, and we do budget for those transfers. So we are still ahead for year to date for our interest. I did not do any investments. I had 2 investments that matured in February. I did not renew those, mainly just because the month before the amounts we were getting were kind of low. So I did have one mature here in March, and we got 5.45%. So the banks are back kind of bidding against each other again. So we'll see what happens at the end of March. So general fund year revenue for the month of February was $917,162. A large portion of that was investment interest for the month of February. And year to date, we have collected 46.49% of our total budgeted revenues for 2024. We are seeing delinquent notice. Since delinquent notices went out, we saw a little uptick in tax money coming in here in the month of February. We will be making our next distribution here in March. So that March 20th distribution date is next week. Sales tax, the general fund sales tax, what the county got to retain was $207,797.81. This is just the general fund. That's 24.68% over what was budgeted for the month of February. And year to date, we're just under 3% over budget through the month of February. February does represent December sales, so these are your Christmas. And yes, it was lower, 1.93% lower than what it was last year.
Thinking inflation was down. That's probably what it is.
Kind of started to flatten out a little bit. The road and bridge sales tax, the county retained $239,257, which is 12.92% higher than what. And remember that one, that was still on the half cent. So starting in March, road and bridge, the sales tax levels will be apples to apples. But that's still 43% higher than what we had budgeted for the month. And year to date, we're sitting at 5.90% over what was budgeted through February. These are just showing you year to date. Year to date, we're about 4% lower than we were at this point in time last year. And these are total sales tax that we collected, not just what we get to retain. And for the month, we are 12.82% higher than January. And I just give you a breakdown of kind of how those tax dollars are coming in by the various types.
That's just county, right? That doesn't include cities?
That's just county.
Right, okay.
Mhm.
Just track.
Mhm. And then here's just shows you a breakdown of how those our total sales tax that for Riley County, and that's the half cent and the 0.20, were 836,563. And this just shows you how it's broken out between the county and the various cities. We will, so February represented December sales, which is the end of the quarter. So we are making that distribution to the small cities this month. And it's been, once again, it's just been relatively flat. So, so that's what I've got for revenue numbers for this month. Are there any questions or anything else that you'd like? Just a couple other things that, as of Monday, March 18th, my office will be full staffed, so I'll have our last person starts on.
What do you think?
Never say that. Never say
I'm
that.
just very
I
excited.
might not want to walk back to the office.
Just sit down and relax.
You might just go home.
Well, I just wanted to point out that our office was extremely busy for the month of February. I don't know if you ever came through at all, but there were just people all the time. Primarily because of what I reported last month, there were some renewal notices. So I'll just tell you, kind of give you some numbers. January and February of 23, we processed 3,780 renewals. January and February of 24, 3,722, which is a little lower. However, of those 3,000 renewals, we only processed 760 of them in January. So we did over 3,000 renewals just in the month of February.
And February is 2 days shorter this year, 2 days shorter on the calendar too.
Actually, it was an extra day.
Well, you got the extra day, but
Oh,
it's still 2 days shorter. It would normally be 3.
Right. We also saw a 28% increase in our commercial and IRP customers. Primarily because one of the Marysville, Marshall County stopped doing IRP transactions. So a lot of those Marshall County IRP customers came to Riley County. And so that, we are Riley County.
How do counties get away with just not doing that anymore?
IRP, these are the they go over out of state, and there's only 10 counties that are allowed to do that, and we are one of those counties. Now there are only 9, and they're hoping to pick up one more to help make up for some of that, but
Do the counties opt into it? Is that what happens?
you opted into
Which
it.
means you can also opt out of it.
Well, you would think, but they're also telling us that they've kind of put a stop on who can opt out.
That's how they-
So they're gonna fund it?
Well, we're working on that too, so, but we did see, but one thing about it, we handled them very well. We got them doing it the Riley County way, and I think next year will be much smoother. They know exactly what they need when they come in, and so we'll see how that goes.
That's my point on Monday.
What?
Funding things that we.
Sure,
Yeah.
and we can definitely have a conversation about that.
Appreciate it though.
Yes, however, I will say we get numerous compliments on our staff and how they do handle that workload. So that being said, that's what we've got going on through March, so we will. Anything that you need, you know where to find me, and we'll talk next month.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
I wonder a way to put a monetary value on those things.
What the,
Mhm. There would be.
Stuff we do for the county, I mean, for the
the
state.
state,
Mhm.
Yeah. Both resource wise, personnel wise.
we haven't done that. I thought we did that. one point.
Well, on losses we have,
Losses.
which
Yeah,
which is
losses.
included, but
Personnel, like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Calculate the number of FTEs.
yes, exactly.
Mhm. I think that's something Elizabeth could work with Shad on. If the board was interested.
Very interested.
What would we do with that then?
Well, we would know.
Yeah,
And then people say, why do we have to spend so much? Well, this is why.
okay,
The state doesn't reimburse it.
yeah,
They expect it, but they don't reimburse it.
but we could make a whole chart of
All right.
all those.
Yeah. Of course, it takes time and resources to get all that information though,
Yeah.
too. See, that's the
They're not gonna
double-edged
do anything
sword.
about it, they're gonna say, so.
Yeah. I do think it's important for people to know that.
Yeah.
How's everybody this morning?
Good, how are you?
Good. We managed to make it through the storm last night.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't miss the bad stuff by much or much.
Not by much. Yeah. Somebody texted me from over at Ogden and they had tennis ball. It looked like tennis ball sized hail. I'm like, you guys can keep that.
Yeah, that last one that rolled through, it was kind of like just east of Junction City,
Yeah.
across the interstate, and then just south and east of south of town and then.
That must have been what I seen over in St. George then. Somebody taking some pictures, a couple of handfuls of stuff. Yeah, then keep all that. I deal with all the spring weather. I don't like hail. I don't.
Yeah, I was texting them a week ago and they said they were just pretty good.
Yeah. Were we meeting over at the office today at 3 or are we just doing that virtual?
I think it's just virtual.
Okay, good.
I think we're still at virtual.
Okay. That'll work better for me. Okay, good.
It's for needed was foul like crazy. And we were just making sure we got the ball out there. He goes up the pool building. It's automatic. He can go to Steve Benson about it. No, his readers ever looked up to Steve. And it's the ideas. We had a pretty good lead. They house, they went down and throw it to me when they turned to go down top. It's been the last 2 minutes of the game. It's been forever. That's how it goes in them games. And look, I had plenty of people. They come out and pop up the 3. Of course, it's going in. Yeah. I just think that happens. A couple of us, he had gone freeze for the game. Because once we thinks the kid drafted or something, you know, I mean, that's a nice part on that. That's. You have to get over. Yeah. The wife's only 18 with yeah, I don't guess.
It's like.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
We now one still.
We're down one.
Those plans, see that meeting Friday, it's gonna be, if we talk about starting it somewhere and then.
Yeah, it'll start up in our
It'll be
offices.
up.
Yeah,
Okay.
I figured.
And
It's good to know they're not starting construction until next.
What,
That's what I was told.
Good in the sense of Friday's meeting.
That's what I was told.
Friday's executive session.
Yeah.
Starting up the stairs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It says that on the agenda
it
too.
does. It notifies people because you gotta have a place where you meet, make the motions
And
and adjourn.
if you come in and we can change it out.
Sorry, that'll be in
That's gonna be Shelley's job.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It'll be just in our offices,
Okay,
our conference room, basically.
go ahead, Darren. I'm sorry.
No,
We're running a couple minutes late.
not a problem. Well, good morning, Darren Solden, Economic Development of the Hatton Chamber of Commerce. I've got a couple quick things this morning and then hand it off to some of our team to update on some upcoming activities and some initiatives that we're working on. First off, just want to start by saying thank you for the county's support of the try to get the title right. The Focus on Building Rural Communities event that was up in Leonardville a week ago Monday. I know you all attended, and I think that was a really strong event. The Rural Economic Development Advisory Board and Gary Extension that Gary did a lot of work on that. So Chamber was proud to be a sponsor of that. It was great to go bring Ben Winchester down from Minnesota to give that presentation. So I think there was some great stuff there, good data. And then some of the other resource partners. I hope that, you know, those in the room, all of us that work with businesses in different capacities and work on different initiatives around the region, county and beyond, that there was something good that came out of that. So I was really impressed by the quality of kind of that data driven presentation and approach. So yeah, appreciate the all the work that went on by folks at the county and the support for that type of programming. The second thing I wanted to hit on was that just to kind of update, like I mentioned it last month, that the chamber has started in on what's ultimately going to probably be about a 4 to 5 month economic development strategic planning process. So updating our strategic plan. It's been 2017 was when a lot of the work was done, and then it rolled out in 2018, that Manhattan project that became Region Reimagined. And then we're really, this isn't necessarily a broad all inclusive everything kind of plan. This is very much a focused economic development growth planning process. So we'll thank Commissioner or Chairman Ford for engaging in some of the initial discussion around that, and there'll be some additional opportunity to make sure that we're engaging the county as we go through that process over the course of the next 4 or 5 months. But I would anticipate the outcomes of that in addition to an assessment. So an assessment period going on here the next few months. In addition to the assessment, looking at the region, there's also going to be this growth plan that's going to have, I believe, some very direct strategic initiatives that ultimately we can expect to see results out of. That'll help guide both our activities, hopefully the activities of some of our economic development partners, and then guide where investments are made as far as resources go. Obviously, as an entity that receives some resources from the county, we want to make sure that we're utilizing those resources as effectively as we possibly can and getting return out of those. So we'll continue to update as we go. We anticipate seeing a draft report in May, and we'll do a large presentation. So we'll invite all of you, we'll invite city, we'll invite Potawatomi County, as well as some other stakeholders and our private Management had investors to that event as well, and roll out a draft strategy at that time for feedback. So it's kind of the timeline that we're working on. So any questions for me before I hand it off to Allison and Christian? All right, well, Allison Muth is doing a lot of great work around an upcoming Keep tour that we have. We'll be bringing transitioning Fort Riley soldiers and family members into the community in the surrounding area to look at some opportunities. So she's going to come update on that.
Hi, good morning. I'm Allison Muth, Talent Strategies Manager, Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce. Just wanted to give you some updates from the talent side of things. We are currently starting our spring career fair season. So we've been to 3 so far in Overland Park, Emporia, and in Fort Riley, but we have several coming up within the next couple of weeks that we will be attending. As Darren alluded to, we will have our Kansas Employment Exploration Program tour come on Monday. So that is something our Economic Development Division is spearheading, and we will pair with the Transition Assistance Program at Fort Riley to host approximately 30 soldiers seeking to establish their lives in the Manhattan area and in the region. And so we will visit 2 educational institutions. We will visit Kansas State University in the morning, as well as move to MATC over the lunch period. During that time, we'll have panel discussions from employers in the region from a construction standpoint, from a healthcare standpoint, from a public standpoint. And then after that, we'll visit a couple of major employers in the afternoon. And then just upcoming, we are going to be having our internship program again this summer. So if you are talking to businesses and they have interns for the summer, we will provide that supplemental programming, that social programming, so that they feel immersed in the Manhattan region. So that's my updates. Unless you guys have questions. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, commissioners. So just a couple Fort Riley updates. As you guys probably heard, war fighting exercise is still going on and should continue through March 20th. So last night we traded the Sounds of Freedoms for lightning and thunder show from Mother Nature. But of course you'll probably start hearing the booms again. We had our first Flint Hills Veterans Coalition meeting. So it's going to start back. It'll be the second Tuesday at 10:30 meeting in the chamber boardroom. So we're always looking for more additional members who want to help out in the planning committee, from breakfast to the parade to the ceremony. And you can always go to their website, www.flinthillsveterans.org. And right now we are also looking at our theme being veterans helping veterans, giving a nod to not only our VFW, but also our American Legion. Our April MRC lunch will be Mr. Jace Rappert. He is congressional staffer for Senator Moran. So he will just be here giving an update, and we will have that lunch at the Manhattan Conference Center. And then next Wednesday, the Manhattan Leadership class will take their Fort Riley tour in the afternoon to talk and hear about the history of Fort Riley, the mission, and then the current training. So if you need any questions, that's it for me.
Thank you.
All right. That wraps up from us.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Next, commissioners, you have bid opening at 10 o'clock on corrugated metal pipe and bands.
Anybody heard anything about the parade on Saturday? Are we going to be riding anywhere or doing anything?
I am signed up. Signed up.
Oh, probably happens.
Yeah, we got, I know she sent it, I got to
Yeah.
They got an email from the Aggieville saying that if you want to see that, sign up.
I missed it, yeah, somewhere.
I signed up and then I realized I overlapped events. So I'm gonna try to figure out what I was.
Those are already parts, or is parts of doing it, or?
I'm up my car.
Oh, that kind of thing, okay.
Are you gonna just drive? Okay.
Cities.
You can't, and you said you're not allowed to throw candy out.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody
Yeah.
walking along,
Yeah.
and I don't have any, all the grandkids are in Kansas City and Atwood, this is a kid. So
Where at Atwood, what do they do?
because that's where her, I daughter takes from that.
Oh, okay.
So they went out there for spring break.
Spring break.
Yeah.
Hmm.
got an overlapping meeting at the same time, but I think I'm gonna leave us early on. Yeah,
That's why I saw that.
they're not discussing much, so I think I'm just gonna kind of go say hi real quick and head down that way and make it work.
It's on one of the fire trucks last year.
Well, county didn't have one. I didn't see. Manhattan had fire trucks, but county didn't have one. Is that great?
And they don't usually reach out to us because it's more of a city related event.
Magnus is supposed to be there.
That's what I was doing.
So what's your daughter-in-law's family's name?
Schmidt.
Oh, Schmidt. It's like SCHMIDT.
Oh,
So.
yeah.
That's right.
You got a quick moment?
I lost a couple of minutes.
I'll think about it. And actually, Alan was probably joining in too, actually.
Isn't that great, Ellen?
You never get when Alvin's involved.
Well, you're probably gonna have to get involved.
Well, except it would have been some, but I think they're a year longer than me. But. Shoot. Yeah. I can't think of the last name. Either grandma, her mom's name's Irene, but I can't remember the last name. That. Yes.
That? Okay.
Yeah.
That,
that's-
that family I know.
Oh, okay. Well, that's her mom.
How many Irenes are there in that?
That's it probably, but yeah, that. Okay.
Okay. All right, well, that's cool.
Because they actually, their farm and where, yeah, it's stuff was up. They have an address north of that.
Number two.
Yeah, number two. There's a name.
Liddell.
Yeah.
Liddell, yeah.
That's right, Liddell.
Well, there's kind of a. it's an
Full-time?
incorporated
Yeah.
town.
Well, they
Split it in half,
their
probably.
addresses.
Huh?
I'll split it in half.
So that's what
It's one of those where you go out and around and back in the.
Advice.
Yeah, my family is, they all pretty much settled in, my dad's family and.
No. That was Joe Schmidt, he had a brother. His name is. And she had, her mom had a couple of sisters.
Well, I have a cousin that she lived with forever. Staying there, I used to have. Cousin in Louisville. They're all around.
Well, that's what I say, her dad's there. He said, his name's there, but he's passed away and his dad's passed away. But. Vicky's family, I think she's the only one who's still there, but they're all over. Been in Kansas City and filming in Colorado. Brother's a big drywall contractor. Colorado, Denver, I think.
Would be Richard.
I don't remember saying.
There was one in Denver area that the Castle Rock. Richard.
Her brother.
Yeah, he was in my, Richard was in my class. And they, he was the same. Yeah, he was in Castle Rock. He was married to. Well, and,
I met him.
was
I met him a couple times, but it's been a while. I don't remember.
big guy.
Yeah, he was, yeah,
Big.
yeah,
Actually, I bet it's the same thing.
yeah.
It's big, it's a small town.
Yeah.
Okay, well, here we are at 10 o'clock and had a bid opening for corrugated metal pipe and bands. Got several up in this bidding here. The first one I see is from J&J Drainage Products out of Hutchinson, Kansas. That are opening here. There's various sizes and unit prices for those, but the total bid I've shown for everything. I'm assuming that we're needing, showing a total bid of $30,710.40.
So Alvin, is that like a bid for the year, what we need for the year, or just a certain?
Yeah, what we're doing is replacing what we've used last year,
Okay.
so that we can keep our stock up. So.
Okay.
I got the first bid was from J and Bay Drainage Products. Total bid of $30,710.40.
No delivery date on those or anything?
Thank you. Second one I have is from Wellborn Sales. It's out of Salina, Kansas. And various size and unit prices for those, but the total bid I show on that is $29,404.10.
From Wellborn Sales in Salina. Total price of $29,404.10.
Third one on the list is from Contact Engineered Solutions. That's out of Lawrence, Kansas. Bang various quantities and sizes. Total bid. See on that is $47,863 even. See that UPS thing with up there.
Well, that's from Contact. Total bid $47,863.
And the last one I have here is from Metal Culverts Incorporated. That's showing that out of Jefferson City, Missouri. Well, the big price I see on this one is $46,145.40.
Final bid. Metal culvert thing. Total price $46,145.40. I move that we refer these all bids to staff for review and recommendation.
I would second that.
Okay, moved and seconded to send these bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation. All in favor? All right.
Aye.
Bid opening here
Short
shortly.
bid day, a lot of bids.
We did have some good.
Here, radio, Brian McNulty, Doug was talking about the riprap that they're, replacing, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the stone they put in the winter, if the stone comes out, it's too wet. It has to dry out, oh, in the winter, it'll freeze thaw and it'll start breaking it up.
Mhm.
And I've heard that before, it's.
That does kind of make sense.
It makes sense, but I hadn't never thought.
Yeah.
You had those big ones,
Yeah.
they don't want them. You can bring them out in the winter, the freeze thaw will start them before they dry it out. Then he's also talking about why they have to draw down the lake in the winter, let that stuff dry out. It freezes.
Yeah,
Well, especially in things that I think.
and that's why they pay them the big bucks.
Cheap with the whole.
A long ways to haul rock.
Yeah. Oh, look at it. So that's what most of the money.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
The rock is cheap. Be sure the delivery charge is included.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not one of those where you can kind of fly it either.
No.
Load it up. on
Maybe they'll just dump it right where you need it.
Here you go.
Kind of like crop dust, giant crop dust.
They probably come by rail, I would guess. That's
Yeah,
something
more than,
that
yeah,
heavy,
probably. Yeah.
But, we've got so much limestone here, it's different.
The irony is it probably comes from here, goes from there, and then comes back.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania must have a lot.
They do, the middle part of the.
I think that's the one. It's always one of my favorite stories. It's a minor league ball player. And he knew that. He actually made it in the pros, I think, and got a big contract. But he knew he'd be back and forth like most baseball careers. And he bought him specs and vacant land, some wasteland somewhere, and I think it was in Pennsylvania. They found out that it had, after he bought it, it had $1 billion worth of granite.
Oh, really? Wow.
That was quite an accidental investment.
Did he still stay playing baseball?
I can't imagine.
No.
Yeah.
I assume the next day he said goodbye.
Yeah, I'm
You
retired.
could even get hurt in baseball.
Yeah, I'm retired.
Holy moly.
If you think about it, it makes sense, because West Virginia and mining kind of leads right up to the eastern and southeastern part of Pennsylvania, so it all kind of goes back up here and there.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Allegheny, however you pronounce that, mountains.
Allegheny,
Yeah.
isn't there an N in it?
Yeah.
We'll say it with authority.
I have to pronounce it right first to be able to do that, which obviously I failed to do.
Just say Allegheny, and everybody else will think they're doing it.
And they say, no, I'm not from Pennsylvania, which is probably part of the charm of that. Okay, we're at 10:10 now. So we'll have it opening for crushed and washed limestone as previously discussed. First one I have is from Bear Construction from right here in Manhattan, Kansas. Quantity is 1,700 tons at a unit price of 35.77. Total bid price for all that would be $60,809. Even.
First bid from Buyer Construction. Total $60,809.
The next one I have is from Green Dream International out of Erie, Pennsylvania. It's nothing we should discuss. Yeah, this is a novel. Props for them. They like trees too, apparently. Okay, 1,700 tons is the quantity, not quality. Although that probably plays a role too. Unit price, $63.13. Ready for this? Okay. $107,321 is the total bid price.
That includes the transportation.
I'm gonna hope.
You're gonna pay it, it's gonna come postage.
You know, stamps are cheap too, so I'm sure that's included as well. Nobody can accuse us of not having a rigorous bid process.
Yeah. I think it's been in Green Dream International.
Mhm.
The price $107,321.
Even send that one back.
Yeah.
Do so.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would make a motion to send the bids back to staff for a recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to send these bids back to staff for further analysis and recommendation. All in favor?
Aye.
You're talking about finding how to get, I'm sure you know that building in Leavenworth, it's, you know, a 6-story building downtown, you know, this.
Yeah.
Because it had been empty for a long time, so if you look at it, they were thinking of tearing it down. Because it's oak timber construction, I mean, the columns are like this big square and beams and everything. They said that they could tear it down and the value of the lumber is worth a lot more than the building.
That's a high rise that's down?
Yeah.
The one, the old building down there in the corner downtown.
Yeah.
It's all huge oak timbers. It's amazing.
Wow.
They just don't mill them that way.
Yeah, you can't, well, you can get the trees that
Exactly.
sometimes, you know.
Or if you do, it'd have to be an illegal redwood or something.
Yeah, but
That
it
should just turn that
said
into
the
like-
value, because somebody talked to them about how many, you know, how much over the cost of tearing it down that those timbers would be worth. It's worth a lot more than what the building is.
Yeah.
It's funny.
But
You could basically strip it down to those timbers and just build something back on it.
but
it wouldn't fall down.
No, it wouldn't.
The building is in good shape.
Yeah.
But it's just empty. In fact, I don't know how much is in there. But before, when we first got there, it was an antique place on the first floor and the rest of it was empty.
It
What
used
was
to
it,
be,
what was it originally?
I don't know.
I was back when I remember it was a high elderly high rise. I used it for
The elder, no, one right down, one down.
maybe we're not talking. Yeah, it's
Across the street from Riley. Oh, right, from Riley,
The auto parts.
real estate.
no, it was
Realtor.
yeah, we're talking about the same place.
Yeah. So,
My grandmother had knew several people that lived there.
oh,
Yeah.
it was just wide, it was just. If somebody bought it, one that was.
This is way back in like, you know.
And the elevator, one of those old elevators that is, I walked up the stairs, I was gonna try that elevator.
This would have been like 83, 84, somewhere in there. It's been a long one.
So it's a 6-story building.
Yeah.
That must be beautiful, that timber in there.
Yeah.
They expose that.
Somebody, the last time I was, there, somebody bought it and he turned top floor into his residence and then his bit, because he had a business. Something with banking all over the country, but he had with computer type stuff.
Was it like a 19th century building? Yeah,
I don't know how.
I'm just curious. Or if it was more recent. Wouldn't have to be that way, but.
I don't know, it's got some pretty neat buildings downtown. The carousel building, even the regional community center, they read down there, it's got some industry line.
Yeah, the old railroad station.
Yeah. Union train station over across the way there, they turned into
It's quite a break.
breakfast
The restaurant.
restaurant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You order-
quite a- well, I guess.
If you order a side plate of pancakes
Instead
over
of
there,
quite a
I mean, they're like.
break.
Made that mistake once.
So we keep hearing an interpretive dance. I know. I think you guys are stressed out because it's.
No, I already judged all those events over the weekend, so I'm good. I'm exempt from
Where
that.
were you doing that?
At the high school,
They had interpretive dance?
interpretive drama, yeah. Forensics.
In my session.
Vivian said she came for the color commentary, so she's got to go on. Her day, she's already started, so.
I'm a little overtired.
Quite a building, so what are they gonna do?
Okay, mine is to be on my.
This could be fun. I'm just gonna sit back and popcorn and.
Computer stuff for banks.
Here we go.
And high school graduate.
I'm pretty tired myself.
They had
22 hours.
two
last
End of
floors.
the
I
week.
don't know what he was gonna do.
Always catches up with you.
Oh, it says wards. I guess at one time it was,
Lord stuff.
yeah.
Yep.
What years is it? Does it say? original construction?
I just looked at, I just pulled up the picture. of
History.
it.
That could be a really.
Yeah.
Some stuff to it.
Oh, it's a event center on the main floor now. And a bar. You see there's a lot of.
And that was tall buildings down there.
It's good that they're using it. A lot of the buildings down there, they're not
Yeah.
doing much with. I don't know what it's not. I'm pretty stagnant, you know, it's.
I've ever been downtown Leavenworth.
For the city.
You were trying to ask for your personal data.
It's always been that way.
Yeah, it's really.
I was,
I mean, that's why it's in the shape it's in.
I'm off, but I requested.
That's in pretty good shape.
And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back in.
With the
and
500, was it $500 million investment, the new
Yeah.
federal prison there, maybe it'll
So,
spur
I got
some.
that message. So, yeah, that's. an-
Prisons usually don't spur growth for obvious
Usually that's not
reasons, you
even our
know?
most pressing.
They,
Yeah.
families tend to move there, though.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh, it's long term.
Typically,
It's long term.
These are placed on, it still had the old wood windows and stuff. They put all new windows in it. You know, it was a.
My grandmother or grandfather used to have this list.
They said it'd be worth more torn down than with the wood than it just structure.
Getting it out
And
of
then
there.
it's probably very like.
Yeah, it would be a mess.
Right.
Take
Treat.
it down.
You pretty much have to take it off layer by layer and somehow
Just
get out of the way.
Move it.
Yeah, but
That's an idea.
Just to talk to us.
What a time to be.
like I say, it's brick exterior.
Yep.
But like I say,
Land in your backyard?
Hmm?
You have enough land in your backyard?
I do.
I don't think the city would go for a 6-story building though in the floodplain.
Might go for a 6-story building, but probably not.
There's no crack, the brick.
Oh,
is still in
no.
good shape. It's, you know, there's no, it's a solid building.
Well, with that wood.
It's
oak
10-20,
timber, it
guys.
would be solid.
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director.
Vivian Lego, Public Information Officer.
And we're here to talk to you about a couple of leadership and development opportunities. I mentioned this in my presentation last week, and I just wanted to kind of get down to the details of it. So one of the things that I think is really important to remember is that we talk a lot about retaining and developing employees and succession planning. And so a really thoughtful leadership and management development program is key to kind of making those things gel together. And over the years, the last several years particularly, we've done a couple of things to initiate our professional development. So we have reorganized the employee day, we've implemented onboarding for all new employees, and we are developing opportunities for our current supervisors to learn and grow, so that we're prepared for all of the changes that will be coming, and also we have the staff available to take those leadership roles. So as has been in the past, this is very similar to last year's presentation. Several training options are available, and the two that we wanted to talk to you about today are the NACO High Performance Leadership Program, Academy, and the Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program. So we kind of put some information there about each of them. NACO is a 12-week online program. There's 4 dates per year, so we are probably looking at the August-September timeline, which is usually what's worked out well for our Riley County staff. And although it should be 24, not 23.
I know, when you said it's very similar to last year, I thought.
Well, it's exactly the same. And it does focus on 5 practical skills. So we've got the lead, organize, collaborate, communicate, and deliver is what the practical skills are. We did have a couple people report in the last couple of weeks about their experience in 23. And we have had multiple people, multiple leaders, multiple current leaders take this over the years. And honestly, the response has been really good. I know Corey's experience was less than optimal. I don't know that it was negative to say, but it wasn't what he was hoping to get out of it. And we've talked a lot about that, and I feel like it had a lot to do with the people that were in his group, and he was really at the highest level of experience in that group. So the other session is the Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program. So that's a 10-session program for community leaders, and that is going to be a lot about tackling the local and regional challenges. It's also going to be a lot of networking with other people doing similar or adjacent programs to Riley County. And so that's the one that Amanda participated in last year and really got a lot out of it, because those same leaders from other organizations are people that she'll end up working with planning and development and the comprehensive plan. Vivian listed a couple of people here who are the famous graduates.
As I was looking through pictures of like historic classes, I thought, well, there's a pretty strong correlation between this class and people who go on to have a big role in the community. So I wanted to point some of those out.
And we've got several Riley County incumbents, and I didn't list them all, but Rich, hadn't you gone to this years ago? And I believe David Adams, and we've got several other people that have gone to this as well. So that's the crux of what we're proposing. We'd like to be able to have commitment to send 2 people to NACO this year, and up to 2 people to the Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program. You can see the cost there. That is the discounted cost for the NACO program. The next level discount that they have is you can send 15 people for $10,000. So we really don't have that level to send 15 people to this 12-week program as intense anyhow, let alone the price tag. So combined, that would be our total ask, and that's what we're recommending. Of course, you can change that however you see appropriate. And also, to be clear, this isn't an additional ask for money. This would be money that we have in our budgets, in our department budgets, be used for training purposes.
So how do you pick the people to go to this, or do they apply?
Yeah, so we actually developed a system last year, and Rich kind of helped us advise us on that. And so we've kind of got a twofold system. We've got people can apply through their department head, and the department head signs off on it. And then we also talk specifically to the department heads and thinking about the purpose of each program, which area is going to develop the most. So who's going to get the most out of it for Riley County? We have a lot of what I would call new or newer department heads who would benefit some things like NACO. We also have a couple people who are new that really we feel like would benefit well for the Flint Hills Regionals, more of that, you know, trying to get into that community setting where, again, new department heads. It's not limited to department heads. I think we could also, and we have looked at assistant department heads or like that next level that would be coming up as well.
With that idea of succession planning, and preparing people for the future and just kind of identifying those folks who are interested in advancing and then would benefit from one program or the other.
Yeah, we want to be really clear. We don't want to send anyone who's not interested, right? Because, you know, you heard it takes one's 10 sessions, the other one's 12 sessions. You know, you have to really be wanting to get something out of it as well. But we're really focused on what also Riley County, if this person in this situation can develop their leadership skills, you know, how will that benefit Riley County?
What does, the Flint Hills one, does it, I mean, it's called leadership. Does it, because is that the one you've been through? Does it do leadership stuff or is it, because my idea, I mean, it goes around and talks to, you know, it's almost introducing you to the community. A lot of it, or it seems to be, a lot of it is just, you know, like I say, reaching out to the community, learning what else is here.
They integrate those two things.
But there is leadership classes or I don't know if
Yes.
it's classes or whatever you're calling it.
There's a different focus, a different aspect of leadership that's focused on for each session. And then also they have a different section of the community that they explore. So there's kind of a theme and a class and an exercise. And then usually in the morning, and then you kind of spend the rest of the day interacting with the community and learning about the leadership there or the big features or the economic drivers. But it's kind of programmed into the curriculum. And the first, the kickoff session is a 2-day at the Rock Springs, the 4-H camp.
Yeah.
So that's a really like intensive leadership, like to get folks bonded as a group and then get them started on the process of exploring their own ideas of leadership and this whole business of servant leadership and what that might mean to them. And then they kind of, from that intensive, they focus on different aspects throughout the sessions. I got a lot out of it.
Good.
Yeah, the networking was a part, but just the personal development was significant for me. Professional development, personal development and professional, I'd say.
So in general, do you think of the people that have gone to the various programs, do you think we get more out of one program as opposed to another? Or?
I think we get different things out of these two programs. So NACO really, this is my kind of perception after looking at these two programs. For me, NACO is more of that executive level, so our directors and then ideally our assistant directors so that we can start pushing that culture down, that leadership culture down. But and I listed up there, they specifically are trying to teach you how to organize, collaborate, communicate so that you can do that for a whole team. And even the questions that I talked to Corey about, you know, they were really good questions. It's just no one else was able to give him advice. I mean, they were good things to explore, right? And how you would lead that. And he has a really small team where if we're looking at like the health department or public works or EMS, which I think David Adams has gone through this. So we were looking at potentially Josh at some point so that they could really cement that in. I think they get a more strategic approach of how to organize your division or your department. Whereas with Flint Hills Leadership, and I haven't done Flint Hills Leadership, so I had some of those same questions as Vivian had. I think it's twofold. So it's more about exploring yourself and your leadership style, figuring out how you can be the most effective leader. Also knowing what the challenge is and the key players are in our community.
I would say that's accurate. And getting familiar with the different resources and challenges, and the networking certainly is a piece of it. Christian Bishop, who presented earlier this morning, was in my class. And now like we interact regularly in a professional setting, and having that connection is very valuable to me. And as with kind of all of the other leaders I was in class with, and I have a deeper understanding of kind of what goes on in the area. We went to Highland Community College, and we did 2 days on Fort Riley and had I know Elizabeth has said in the past, like for people who are kind of new to the area, this program has a different value than the NACO program. And it kind of helps you immerse into the community, but also has the aspect of helping you develop as a professional.
And I think we don't want to forget that understanding how Riley County fits in this community and the people that we need to work with, I think is huge to us being able to accomplish our goals. So if we have, either new people or people who just haven't been in a leadership role previously, if they don't necessarily understand how Riley County fits with all of those other entities, we miss things, we miss details when they're presented and miss opportunities.
You're just asking us or you think let's go.
Yeah, we're asking you for a go ahead on it. I mean, we would work with the department heads and then we will bring you, the selection, we'll bring you the names and let you know, but we just would like commitment from you that this is the direction you want to go in leadership development.
Sounds good to
I
me.
think it sounds good, yeah. See, well, I would make a motion to approve human resources staff to move forward with the nomination selection of two candidates for the 2024 NACO High Performance Leadership Academy and two candidates for the 2024 Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program in collaboration with our department heads.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve human resources staff to move forward with the nomination and selection of two candidates for the 2024 NACO High Performance Leadership Academy and two candidates for the 2024 Flint Hills Regional Leadership Program in collaboration with department heads. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. We'll bring back some names and you get soon.
And then the Riley County Day session is in December again this year. So we're working to plan that content.
Okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Brittany. We're sorry, we're behind a little bit.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Phillips, Budget and Finance Officer, here to first present our monthly cash flows for February 2024. So here you can see just about. Okay, so first we have our economic development. As you can see, nothing has changed from January. So our February revenue, we didn't receive anything and we have also not spent anything. So our 2024 unencumbered cash balance for economic development is $362,643. And then here's just a list of our projects. Most of these are just appropriations and then anything else that you also approve. I know you approved that $5,000. Once we get that invoice for the internet, we'll get that sent out as well.
Roll back up down.
Yep.
Do we? That's what's remaining for the comprehensive plan at 24,674? Or has that already been allocated?
Yes, that is the remaining project estimates. And I believe Amanda's going to come back and speak to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that consultant fee, wasn't it?
Yes.
5,000. Yeah.
Didn't end up being for that, but yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it was originally for.
Okay.
Next, we have county building cash flows. So in February, we received a $10 reimbursement and expenditures were $23,518, bringing our unencumbered cash balance to $249,746. Next, we have CIP. Revenue, we did not bring anything in for the month of February, but we did spend $32,510, bringing our unencumbered cash balance to $17,962,545. And again, we just have a lot of reserve funds in there, and then here's a detailed list of everything that has been approved by commissioners. And then of course, also FFE funds, not a lot of change to that.
Next, we have the half cent sales tax cash flows. No revenue since this has ended, but we have spent, we did spend $4,391 in the month of February, bringing our unencumbered cash balance to $6,436,188. And again, just a list of our approved projects. Next, we have the 0.2% sales tax. We brought in $239,257 in the month of February. And as Shiloh said earlier, that is for the December. So once we get past this, then we'll start seeing apples to apples. Obviously no expenditures in here, bringing our unencumbered cash balance to $2,612,192. Any questions on cash flows? Okay. So next we'll jump back into the budget calendar and establishing a baseline. So last week I presented this and you had asked me to come back. So on Monday we kind of discussed a little bit about, you know, being conservative and making sure like we're not having anything crazy in the budget and everybody's really being mindful about it. Are there any other things that you would like me to address with department heads for a baseline?
I think we discussed it quite a bit at the county officials luncheon.
We still need direction from this board to give to the outside appropriation agencies and to the department heads. We haven't had a consensus from the board on kind of the message to send.
You know, and I know for, particularly for the outside appropriations, is the ones we need to direct. And I understand, because she's got on here what we've said for the last few years, which I don't know. Seems fine. You know, we're just going to tell them tighten up everything, which is the same message every year. I don't think even without this written message to them, I don't think the departments are going to say, "Oh, I'm going to increase my budget 50% this year. I'm going to go. We're going to buy a new Ferrari for our department or something." But I mean, I guess it's formality. But like I say, the one is what you know, appropriations, because they seem to want to be the ones that think they can increase their budget 50% every time.
Well, they do, but I mean, really historically, I mean, your appointed department heads especially have wanted direction. How's the commission feeling, you know, given the economic time? Because, you know, in government, you know, whether it's city or county, we don't budget to do the services 100% in anything or do everything 100%. So, you know, that's why the board went to this many years ago, because departments said, okay, give us direction. I mean, I'm not going to put a bunch of time in a budget and tell them, you know, what I need ideally for everything if there's no way it's going to get funded.
Right.
And so that's the purpose of it. It is for outside agents, but it really is for your internal departments as well. And especially the message the last several years on personnel, because I mean, for people to develop their budgets appropriately on how they would really like it is probably different than what the commissioners may really want, budgetarily speaking. And so we'd have one department head that would serve and said, well, why do I even present a budget? They just cut it to what last year's was all the time, you know, and so that had happened many times. I'm not saying this board does, but it just happened. So that's why, they ask for direction. Your department heads do.
I was of the thought, and I mentioned it on Monday, and we're going to discuss it here later on in the meeting, but you know, we kind of have the process of keeping personnel kind of that CPI index. I like to think that maybe we could keep our budget somewhere close to that too, with the idea that personnel still is that big priority still, and we still need to keep on top of that. That's kind of where I'm landing.
Well, and you know, maybe we should reword it a little bit, like There are department, and I'm not sure how to reword this, but critical needs for service to the community. I think is an important thing. And Shallow talked about that at the meeting the other day about, the importance of having, say, Vicky at the front desk and some, those kinds of things I think are critical in today's world. I think our department heads are aware of current economic conditions and tax sentiments because they hear it as much or more than we do, the sentiments of the public.
Maybe.
So I don't know if we talk about critical needs or specialty need or
Critical needs, it's good, it's a good term.
for service, for services, which we all do.
And in 2021, it said something along those lines. Catherine, you see that only critical, essential, and emergency purchases be part of the budget was part of that message. That was a rather lengthy message in 2021.
Well, there was, there was this thing called COVID going on at that point in time, and it changed the
challenges.
It also said non-essential purchases not to be included. Well, I don't know if anybody does really non-essential purchases in today's world, but.
Do we all agree on critical needs for services as the message to the department heads and outside appropriations?
Yeah, I think that could go to outside appropriations too.
Yeah, I think consistency there is probably good all the way around.
I don't think we need to phrase anything. I think we need to look at things before we phrase anything these days.
You have enough direction to draft something up, Brittany, and present it to the board before it's sent out for sure.
Yeah, I can do that. I will try to get on the agenda next week because I have appropriation letters to be sent out next week. So I will bring that back for approval. One more question we had on the meetings with department heads and outside agencies. How long would you like each department head presentation to be? So some have been 20 minutes, some have been 30, some have been 10. So
I say 15 at tops. I mean, I've gotten to the point where it's almost programmed for me. I mean, no offense to anybody, but I mean, it's the same process every year, no matter if it's in May, June, January, December, whenever.
Yeah, like I say, I guess 15 is about an average probably.
15 probably. Yeah, it's just, we don't need a whole lot of verbiage.
Yeah.
I tend to, if I have questions or concerns, I tend to set up time to have those discussed outside.
This is just to give us their rundown, and if we have other questions, we can always come back.
yeah.
Good. So maybe one silver line of this new R&R process is it does stretch the budget calendar out past summer and into the fall. So there's plenty of time to do those things.
Well, maybe in that 15 minutes, you might say, commissioners have X amount of time, save some time in that 15 minutes for the commissioners' questions.
There's also been some years where they try to provide updates on everything that they're working on, and we've already included that at least quarterly throughout the year. So
you really don't
that's
need
not
a lot
needed.
of that.
Yeah,
If they're reporting to us quarterly, not all of them.
they are. Not monthly, at least quarterly.
Okay, so then all I need is just a motion to approve the 2025 budget calendar and establish that baseline of just critical needs for services.
I move to approve the 2025 budget calendar and establish the 25 budget baseline to be finalized next week.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2025 budget calendar and establish a 2025 budget baseline to be approved next week. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
Next, commissioners at 10:50, I have Elizabeth Boardman, the executive session.
You gonna need the full time answer?
Yes. Please.
20 minutes, nothing takes less than 20 minutes.
But
That's history.
I have a PT session at noon, so I may have to rush out of
That's what
here.
we've learned.
It's okay, yeah, you have to, for sure. Yep, and maybe if we're lucky to go through end early, maybe we can start,
Yeah.
if he ends early.
Yeah.
But if you need to go,
And
go
we'll
for
push
sure.
that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I said that, I.
Yeah, right,
Of course, we did, I didn't have any of these scheduled.
right.
I said, usually we're done by 11:30. I thought, oh,
We've had several long mornings here recently. I said something to Cindy the other day. What's the deal, Cindy? Why are you making these meetings so long?
Well, some of them are short and some are long, so it'd be nice to have a little consistency. Yeah.
Would be
Well, all you-
impossible.
All you gotta do is make sure that only issues come up that you need to see.
One way to do it consistently is say nothing after 10:30, and we can make sure that happens.
Then you can find out in the following week what you missed.
No, we'll just leave at 10:30 every meeting.
Now, sometimes we get done at 9:50, and that's kind of silly. This time.
Everyone gets 5 minutes.
Wi-Fi. Not two.
I'm getting really lackadaisical on dressing. I don't know if I'll ever go back to wearing heels.
Amanda, or not Amanda, Anna, it's in a note about.
Yeah.
It's about something is coming from page 60. I went, what in the heck is this guy doing? It was page 6, but
So
I thought he was 60. I went, no, cut him off. I'm not going to the 60-page presentation.
I thought maybe there was, at first I thought maybe there was examples or something that took all that, but no, it's not that complicated.
Yeah, it took me 60 pages.
In a meeting yesterday, the Economic Development Committee, there's a whole part of that rule with CDBG deals with just this.
Does it?
And that's part of the reason why they're having to rewrite it, because communities, I guess, are starting to use it.
Wow.
So, it's, I don't want to say it's the next fad, but it's a next tool of sorts. We'll try to get public and private ownership in the, in housing. Oh, I guess I probably should do that.
So I could make something up.
Yeah.
It'll make it more interesting.
Actually, give me that back. I want to see you make it up.
Yeah,
See
let's-
what's
that'd be
makes
good.
you cringe over here.
See what happens.
No, there's too many extra people in this one.
That's never
We're
good.
gonna executive session, discuss some stuff. Everybody.
Oh, that's never good when there's like 5 or 6 people. It's never good.
Executive session, personnel matter. I'm discussing how many executive sessions per month.
Yeah.
Narrowing it to 3, make it count.
That such direction would be followed.
Except each one would be an hour long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got a good point there.
Lord said otherwise. Believe me, we'll live with whatever you decide.
Yeah. I don't want to get in a fight with a lawyer about it.
It wouldn't be a fight, it'd be immediate surrender.
Yeah, wouldn't be a fight. He knows the answer.
I just say, okay,
He
bye.
knows who gets to make that decision.
Okay.
I'm not traveling to Topeka for training and classes.
They could come here sometimes and train you all at once.
It'd be great.
So Shawnee County gonna have a class?
Yeah, apparently, actually. It's
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't
So they
have
have-
it wrong
Yeah.
on our right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the R and R, yeah, I heard
They
about
have to
that.
cut back to what it was without.
I did hear about that.
So then, does that mean they have to go back to rebate, refund?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that-
$2 million approximately.
That'll be fun to figure out.
Yeah. What percentage there, how many thousands of different properties they must have if we.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be everyone.
Oh, it's time.
Oh. Move the county commission, including Chairman Ford, Vice Chair McKinley, and Commissioner Foki recess into executive session on potential litigation for the purpose of consultation with Clancy Holman, County Counselor, Shelley Woodard, Deputy County Counselor, attorneys for the commission, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, an exception to the Kansas Open Meeting Act. The open meeting to resume in the county commission at 11:10. Rich Vargo, Riley County Clerk, and Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director, will be present during a portion of the session to provide factual information.
I would second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the Board of County Commissioners recess into executive session. Item of potential litigation to return to the regular meeting at 11:10 a.m. Favor?
Aye.
All right, I move the Board of County Commissioners come out of executive session.
I would second that.
Get moved in second, Board of County Commissioners come out of the executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
I move the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session.
I would second that.
Been moved and seconded that the record reflect action shall be taken consistent with the consensus reached in executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay. And there's Josh. All right, your floor is yours.
Great. Okay. Good morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Josh Brewer, Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity of the Northern Flint Hills, formerly known as Manhattan Area Habitat for Humanity, recently rebranded to better reflect our service area. Today, I want to talk about a new tool that we've developed locally called Community Land Trust, and we've put into action in Ogden. And I particularly want to talk about this tool in the context of the city-county meeting that I heard recently talking about RHIDs and some of the commissioner comments about the need for a tool to protect this public citizen. And I think that this tool is particularly relevant to that conversation. A little bit of background on Community Land Trust. This is not something that we've come up with on our own. This is a concept that in the contemporary context begins with a farming community in Georgia in 1969. That was the first community land trust as we currently know it. A group of former sharecroppers who wanted to continue being able to operate farms. And so they developed a community land trust there to do that. Actually, just 20 minutes down the road, there was a farm called Quintanilla Farms that was also founded in 1969, that had a similar idea for people who worked in those rural areas who wanted to continue to live and raise their families there. And that farm, Quintanilla Farms, is where Habitat for Humanity was formed, with something called the Fund for Humanity, where they took it mortgage receivables and the land, and they put it in a trust fund so that they could continue developing their community with that local trust fund. Back in 1994, we formed a Habitat for Humanity affiliate here in this community when over 100 faith leaders came together and said, we need to do something about housing, and we're not seeing the private sector or the public sector rising to the occasion. And so those faith communities felt the need to do that, and they formed a non-denominational interfaith organization, which is our affiliate. In 2005, just down the road, Tenants to Homeowners, an organization that was a community housing developer, they became interested in shared equity and explored this solution, and they developed their own community land trust. And since then, they've put over 100 properties in their trust. In 2019, safe and affordable housing action conversations were held here in this community. I think anyone who's been a part of the housing conversation knows the same story comes up over and over again. But what was unique here is a new idea based on what we saw over in Lawrence, where people said we really need to find a community, an organization that could develop or a new nonprofit that could develop a land trust like the one in Lawrence. And in 2022, I served on the steering committee for a housing market analysis, and we heard from people who participated in that conversation series. Again, they said a community land trust needs to be a part of the housing strategy, specifically for the greater Manhattan area. And so that really kicked Habitat into gear to say, okay, we've heard everyone talking about this. We are that organization that needs to take the lead on that. And so we started studying the concept, and last year committed to forming a community land trust, which we call the Good Steward Community Land Trust. And currently the Good Steward exists as a subsidiary of our Habitat for Humanity affiliate. It was adopted in 2023 by our board of directors. And in just this year, we sold our first house where the land is held in a shared equity agreement, and the homeowner owns their home according to this model. but they do not own the land. Instead, they own an interest, a lease fee interest in the ground, which legally attaches that house to the land for 99 years with this ground lease agreement. And because the community owns the land long-term, it does many things. It makes the home more affordable. And I think of particular interest to y'all's conversation around RHIDs, it protects any public subsidy that has been invested in that transaction in developing those properties. A little bit about the assessment model, because I know that's going to be of interest to the county, is how do we assess these properties? If they're not a market-based transaction, how do we see what sort of property taxes we could levy on these properties? And a few things that the Grounded Solutions Network Technical Manual advises is that CLT homes should be taxed. We will never advocate that these homes should be tax exempt. For some reason, the people who live in these homes, they will use county services, they will use the school services. They do generate property taxes. And we feel that the homeowners, the people who will use those services, should pay those property taxes. Because these transactions are based on the market, we feel that those property tax values should be tied to them. And that property tax values can be easily calculated based on the purchase option price. When someone purchases a home in a community land trust, they agree to a split equity formula where they will realize all of the earned equity, all the money that they put into principal. They'll get that back when they sell their home. And they will get a portion of the market appreciation, not the entire market appreciation. A portion will go back to the homeowner. I mean, they get to realize the benefits of the appreciating value. But part of it will go back into the community land trust so it can continue doing its work. And that is spelled out with a maximum price. And so we know what the market price for that home will be at any given time. I think for our conversations here, we are very sensitive to the idea of stewardship and that there needs to be public stewardship of public subsidies. And the CLTs ensure that anything that any time a public dollar goes to subsidizing a development, that development is kept up, it is well maintained, it is repaired, and that it is a real benefit to the community. And I know that's been a criticism with some of the habitat properties, which is why we're really sensitive to that. Because when that owner of that home sells that home, we lose control of it. We lose control if it becomes a rental property and what sort of tenants are in that home, what they do with the home. We have no ability, but everyone always remembers that as a habitat home. For your interest, CLTs protect the public subsidy. They ensure that a homeowner cannot realize a windfall property by flipping a home that has been developed based on a public subsidy. On the flip side, it reduces the incentive to profiteer by developers. Not a knock on our for-profit developers, but that is their job, is to return a profit to their shareholders. And that is probably not in the public interest. And in interest to us, is CLTs protect the affordability in perpetuity. It's a 99-year ground lease that an individual signs. And this mechanism ensures that that house that we've spent considerable time and energy developing the resources and the property, that it will be affordable in perpetuity. Now, the recent discussions that we've been having about the reinvestment housing incentive districts, RHIDs, they demonstrate that we need a tool that stewards the public subsidies. And I would go as far as to say that we should require that anytime public dollars are being placed on a project, that there is some mechanism that protects that public dollar and ensures that it doesn't just become a profit that is flipped out to a developer or that's realized in a homeowner's windfall, because that's not the purpose of those policies. And I know that this concept can be very abstract, so I want to talk about it in the context of the project that we're looking at right and I think it's really appropriate. There's a development that failed south of Ogden. And there can be a lot of conversations about why it failed and how you feel about the existing townhomes and whatnot. But the reality is that there are a number of lots that are owned by the city of Ogden that are a severe burden on the city and its residents. And you know, the blame for that, I think could be spread all around. But the city owns these properties right now. And the ones that we focused in on are 18 lots right here. Utilities have been in place for over 10 years. Private developers have looked at it. It doesn't make financial sense, which is why they're sitting. And there's a $15,000 burden annually on the city of Ogden until 2028. And specifically for these section, there's $300,000 in public subsidy that has been put into this project. Taxpayers there in Ogden have been paying this off, and it is at risk if we do not put some sort of a mechanism in place to protect that public subsidy. And if we consider the rest of the development, there's almost $1 million in public subsidy at risk that those taxpayers have been paying for, and that there's nothing protecting those public dollars. So we became interested in this in the context actually of MIH applications. We asked the city of Ogden, where would you like to see an MIH application? And they of course chose the hardest place in the city of Ogden, which is that development. They said that's, if we could get an MIH award, this is where we would put it. So we worked with our architecture college friends over at K-State, and we had community conversations about what could that look like down there. And the students came up with a lot of different ideas, and we held it over there at the community center, and community members came in and gave them a lot of feedback. And we think we have some pretty good concepts that are viable, but they're not going to be viable without public subsidy. And the requirements that we have, just the rough math on it right now is, if we were to pay off the existing specials, we would need an RHID subsidizing just under $5,000 a unit. If you want to reimburse the city of Ogden for the specials that they've already covered, that rises to just under $15,000. We also need a subsidy from the state for an MIH award. That totals about $40,000 a unit. And you need KHITC tax credits to come in. That's another $27,000 a unit. And then, assuming you win all of that and you get everyone to agree to subsidize this development, you still have to come up with about $2 million in financing to make the project work. So that's significant public investment on top of the already significant public investment that the taxpayers in Ogden have been, placing on this property. Which is why, I think we really look at this and say, given all of that public investment, there really needs to be some sort of a mechanism that ties to these dollars that protects it. And for this project, we would need an RHID and we would need an MIH award. That's really the only way that this project works. And I know, talking with Commissioner Ford, one of the things that I heard was, how do we know how long we're going to get into this? And you're talking about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. And you start thinking about roads and fire hydrants and all the things that the county is going to have to replace, that it's not going to be getting tax dollars. And so when I think about RHIDs, I like thinking about the payback periods and looking at these and thinking, okay, this is kind of what 5 year, 10 year, 15, 20 year looks like in a 10, 20, 50, 75 unit. And if we use an example C, so if we say $50,000 a unit of RHID subsidy, you could break it down to say, we're going to, pay off the existing special liabilities. We're going to reimburse the city of Ogden somewhat. and we're gonna subsidize vertical construction, so kind of split it three ways. You could pay off and just subsidize vertical construction. You could pay off and just refund the city of Ogden. It depends on how you want to structure that, RHID. But regardless of how you do it, I think that what we need to continue to communicate is how are we going to steward those public dollars? We can do it with a deed restriction, or we can do it with a community land trust. And, you know, we believe that the community land trust is the best way to provide the public oversight of those dollars and intend that the properties developed are well maintained, and that they continue to meet the stated desire of the commission that signs off on an RHID. So that's a lot of information. Do you have any, and I've hopefully put an abstract context into a very real situation so that it, you know, is not being talked about in the abstract. So any questions that I can answer from you?
When you say somebody buys these houses and they will be paying property taxes, but the property taxes will only go to pay off the RHID, is that correct? I mean,
Yeah, you're asking like, how does the RHID work itself? Yeah, so the RHID mechanism, and I'm sure there's people who can explain this better than me. There would be a bond, and a portion of those property taxes would service the bond. But once that bond is repaid, yeah.
Go ahead, Rich. RHIDs are just basically like a TIF, where once this project is started, whatever the value is that's vacant, that value is frozen. And then once it's built, there'd be an appraised value that calculates the new taxes collected. And that new taxes collected doesn't go to those public entities.
Right,
It doesn't go, right. It doesn't go to the city, the schools, and the county. It goes to pay this off. And that's what he's saying those payback periods are. Those payback periods are saying whatever amount it is, 6, 9 years, 16 years is when it'll be paid off. And then, you know, the benefit is those taxes then go on the tax roll after that infrastructure is paid off. So you are correct. The entities
they're
do
paying property taxes, but they're not.
The thing that's different than what's
he's saying they're paying property taxes, but they're not, in effect.
But
not paying us, not paying the county and the city and the school. They're paying the RHID.
Correct.
For however many years, depending on how much you put into it.
But what's different for what Josh is proposing compared to what we've seen from the other proposals on just an RHID through the city and county is this guarantees it stays for the intended purpose of affordable housing. So I, as a developer, can't get into this and sell them in 5 years and then go back at market, and it's not marketable for the affordable housing groups. And it's not just a percentage, 30% of them are going to be affordable housing. All of these will be affordable housing and stay in affordable housing for 99 years.
Right.
So there's restrictions then. If somebody lives there for 5 years and then wants to sell it, there'll be a restriction. They can only sell it for a certain amount. Is that what you're saying?
There would be a guaranteed maximum price, and there would be income restrictions on the buyer. So our ground lease agreement spells out up to 150% of area median income. So our community land trust, what we heard from the community is we really need more inventory that's available to our workforce.
Right.
So we need low to moderate income. And so these are very much starter homes today, and they will continue to be.
So there will be restrictions though on on the dollar, who they can sell to, but also the dollar value they can sell it to.
The guaranteed maximum price.
But then, and if, just to use round numbers, if they bought it for 100,000, sold and it sells at 150, they wouldn't even get all that 50. They don't. Portion that goes back to the land trust with that.
Yeah, so let's
just, and I know it's not realistic, but just to get percentage.
Yeah, let's say someone purchased a home and it was a $200,000 appraised value. And they live in the house for many, many years. They pay back $100,000. They go to resell their home. They resell that home, say the market is appreciated to 225. So they will then say they can sell the house for 225. they will get all of their 100,000.
Right.
And then they will split that market appreciation of 25,000. They'll pay back the loan 100,000, and then they'll split the market appreciation of 25, 70, 30.
70 for them.
70 for the trust, 30%. So you've got a 30% of the market appreciation. So essentially,
30% of it.
this
And the rest of it
whole-
goes back, if it goes back to your land trust, is that so you can go buy
land, build
buy
more
more
houses.
land and start another house. is the
Yeah.
idea.
I mean, this is, and we have full disclosure on that. You're not gonna, the point of this program is not to give someone a speculative opportunity. Although 30%
I
of
mean,
the
it's-
market appreciation, it's not nothing.
They're right.
But you are gonna get all of your earned equity back out.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Whereas, if that's what you're looking for, and then you can go purchase on the speculative market if you want to play the real estate game.
Yeah. And it would be half the owner occupied, it couldn't be.
Ours are
rental.
owner occupied.
It couldn't be a rental,
Correct.
bought as a rental unit, right?
Yeah, and different land trust, and that's kind of the benefit of a land trust over a deed restriction. Is a deed restriction is going to state this forever and ever again. A land trust, if there was a different need in the community that rises in the future, that community board could vote to change that. So it's just like any not-for-profit organization. Now you've got a ground lease agreement. That particular house is going to be owner occupied. But say in the future, we really need to see more. It would be hard to imagine a land trust preserving, let's say the entire community becomes Airbnbs, for example.
Yeah, sure.
And we really need renter occupied rentals, like permanently occupied rentals. A land trust could develop something like that. It would be hard to imagine that for this land trust, but
It's a good example.
it's more adaptable than a deed restriction.
So you have set this up, or where are you on this in Ogden?
So the city of Ogden has agreed to sell us those lots for $1, assuming that we could win a MIH award and that we could pay back their specials. And so we feel that it would be most competitive to win an MIH award if we have an RHID attached to it. And of course, you've still got to make the project work.
Yeah, and the MIH and the KHITC, those come from the state, is that correct? That won't affect the local property taxes.
Correct. This is with Kansas Housing, and KHITC is an investor tax. That's for sure.
And I'm told they'll know that with the tax credits actually can boost the actual amount if you've got the other two in place. So.
Yeah, so where are we at on the project? We're still on the calculator.
Trying to figure
out how does this.
How does it make it work?
Even with all this subsidy. And that's what we want to get across. It's like, even with all of this, it's still hard to get.
Go ahead.
So to be clear, you say to pay back Ogden specials, you had two options of paying back Ogden specials, just paying back what's currently due or paying them back for everything originally. Which option are you requesting for this one?
At a minimum, we're going to pay what's due. I do think there is an argument to be made that we reimburse some of the specials. I would love to do that. I would love to go back in time and not get into this mess. I don't know if that's financially feasible though.
Just has a huge impact on the number of years out, of course, that payback. To Commissioner McKinley's concern about when do the rest of the taxing entities get that benefit of that increment.
And the city of Ogden they are prepared to even subsidize the half of the remaining specials if a project would move forward. So I think that's the city has their position is they need this project to move forward. They need to be done with it.
Yeah, and I'll add a caveat to that. The main reason why they need this is because the recent audit on their city budget indicates if they don't start moving on some of this, their city budget could be rendered insolvent within the next decade. And this is the only set of properties they have in this current state too, so.
And these this is just those lots. They're not built on yet. They're not the ones that are already there.
No,
right?
they're the ones
Okay,
next
the
to
ones that were in the tax sale last year, probably.
Was it last year or the year? It was either last year or the year before.
Yes.
I think it was the year before.
I think it was the year before.
And those,
They had lots last year that were taxed on, I believe there were some here.
And they have indicated they're not planning on purchasing anymore just because they've got overload.
I think we have some more this year as well.
Yeah, and I'm being told they're not gonna purchase any.
They're not, right.
They're not going
But,
to.
and like I say, these lots aren't all, the city has some others
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
They're all, well, the whole thing, we've been paying specials for years with.
and we've looked at it, our initial focus is these 18 lots. Because our hope would be, if a development worked here, we would either demonstrate to the private market a way to fully develop this thing out, or we would set up a pattern for us just to move into phase 2, phase 3.
Yeah.
Either way, we want to make sure that there's more housing and that the city of Ogden gets out of this mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can figure that out.
But so the RHID really is, that's just looking at special. There's, so actually 14,000 of old specials plus 5 of new, is that correct? I mean, those are, the 47 isn't in the 13, is that right?
I think
Those need to be added together to cover everything.
Yeah, and kind of like the city said, in the county meeting, if this is the type of project that you're interested in supporting as an RHID, I think we would go back to the city and say, okay, we've got a realistic funding mechanism here. You've communicated that you're open to seeing half of remaining specials forgiven. That's kind of the lowest end for you as revenue. The highest end would be, what if we could get some of your past specials reimbursed? Get you some cash to run the pool, fix the potholes. But then we've got to somehow figure out how does that fit with the remaining development budget. And it's tight. And so you're not going to be able to get everything with a package like this, but I do think for it to move forward, it would be very difficult for it to move forward without support from the state, support with tax credits, RHID, and Habitat is known for being very, very cost effective. So it'd be tough for the private market to beat this.
Well, I was trying to remember on that tax sale, didn't we give them tax credit? Didn't we give them or eliminate a lot of the specials? Or didn't the city do that?
Specials don't go away.
It was something.
Tax sale. No.
Okay.
Oh, there was $1,300 or something. That's what she's talking about.
Oh, I remember that you're talking about
There were some fees.
which way you were gonna charge it.
Yeah.
There were a couple ways to calculate it, but pick the
For our
lesser.
cost, the
Our
cost for having the tax sales, that's what we.
Yeah, that would not
There's
be
support
the.
costs per
Yeah,
property.
that was
That's
quite a
because they
discussion.
were buying a whole bunch of properties in each one of those.
Yeah,
right.
specific
Yeah.
properties.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, that's what it was about. I remember it now.
Yeah, it didn't touch the specials.
Yeah.
okay. Exactly. Okay.
But, and I know you showed in the next one, talking about how many years it takes to pay back, but you're not asking for 20,000. All you're looking at is the special, so somewhere between 5 and whatever that comes out to 5 and 18 or something.
Yeah, I think we've discussed it. It's going to be about 12 to 15 years is going to be kind of that median.
But
to pay it off.
Well, I'm just saying, if you put 10,000, that pays off the future specials and half or a portion of the previous ones, and that's only a 5-year payback, right? Is that, am I reading that?
That's correct. And I think that's kind of how we've got to solve the puzzle of this is, what is the county willing to bear on a bond? What is the city willing to accept? Because this isn't, this is gonna be a loss. I mean, or, you know, for them long term, like, what are they gonna be willing to accept just to move this project forward? And then how in the world do we get, with whatever's remaining from that, how do we actually get some structures built? The vertical side. And the nice thing about RHID, if the infrastructure's been in place for over 10 years, you could use RHID for the vertical construction. And so we've kind of got those three parties there. And I think the land trust piece of this is, if we go through all of this work, let's make sure we're protecting that public subsidy. Let's not do all this and then in 5 years go, we worked really hard and then it got flipped.
And it's not workforce housing, it's just on the open market for whomever.
Sure. And so, you know, the community land trust could steward that in perpetuity.
So in effect, okay. It's sinking in eventually. But you're saying on the breaking down, so that 39,000, that's in effect some of your gap financing. Basically, is looking back to your other thing, that's what part of that RHID would be helping for your gap financing.
Correct. So if we go. Yeah, so if we go up here and we said, oh, okay.
We're gonna pay off those, and then also use the rest of it for the gap finance.
Yeah, so say we go in and we say, okay, we're comfortable with we're comfortable with, if I hear from the county that says, you know, we would be comfortable with B or C, but not D, and A doesn't seem like enough. Then we would know, okay, that's kind of the range that we would need to try to start working with on the RHID side. And so then, you know, I didn't get an MIH award, project doesn't move forward here. Or oops, we didn't get those KHITC tax credits. Project needs to change or it can't move forward. And then, of course, the gap piece is, you know, what are the outside financing? What is the outside fundraising that Habitat can do to make that work?
Which I think as a nonprofit, you have probably more scope and ability to draw on funds than probably somebody private does at this point in time anyway. Not saying that's gonna happen, but I'm saying.
We do have a pie sale today. 2 million is a lot of pies, but we do have the ability to raise funds, and we do all the time.
The chair is responsible to buy a couple pies today.
Okay.
Knew you were gonna throw that.
Yeah, I mean, we do. Yeah, as a nonprofit, we do raise funds. And I think when you have a project like this and you can clearly communicate, okay, the city has skin in the game, the county has skin in the game. That's when we start communicating.
I think we're gonna get the community to want to put skin in the game too.
Yeah. Especially if they get a pie.
I guess.
Piece of pie.
You just get close to lunchtime. Now we're talking about pies.
Well, it gives us plenty to think about in real time, so. I certainly like the option of staying within the scope of how we, you know, were originally putting this together, and it's gonna stay that way. That's a big concern of mine with the RHID. It really is.
Yeah, but it's a lot more comfortable with this than what the city has got.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Well, it's consistent with this city.
Yeah.
It wasn't as detailed either, so.
It wasn't, yeah.
And this is something that we can do in the city of Manhattan as well.
Well, the discussion with, for instance, Crawford County and Ford County indicates that they've been able to use RHID for several years now to build. And it hasn't been a problem. They figured out the equation to make that work, but now those houses are selling for 325, 410,000 in that range, and they're not able to get workers into those houses now.
And it doesn't,
Right.
like I said, it doesn't keep it where it needs to be.
Yeah. So that's what I don't want to see happen here.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all so much. And then you have my contact information in your packet. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'd like to grab coffee with any of you and talk a little bit more about this.
Certainly. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Next, Commissioner, it's time for Elizabeth Ward. Thanks, Bob. Yep.
Are you needing to? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she got the 12 o'clock appointment.
Okay.
You ready, John?
Go ahead.
All right, Elizabeth Ward, Human Resources Director, and we have talked a little bit about the CPIU. We mentioned it earlier today, and so this is just the formal presentation of the CPIU for this year's budget process. And so one thing I just want to point out, and John, you talked about it earlier today, but the county has done a lot of work to try to get our pay scale and our benefits to really be competitive and align us to be an employer of choice and be able to fill our open positions really well. And that, I believe, of the CPIU or a COLA increase that's in relation to inflation helps us stay in that competition. And so that's kind of the basis of why I believe this is an important part of what we discuss. We already told you in the county officials meeting, but the CPIU as of the end of December is 3.8%. So that's what we're looking at. And then for policy, that's where we would, unless you direct us otherwise, that's where we would start basing our budgets, our personnel budgets off of. So we don't include the COLA in the budget proposal, but we make a draft of that number too, so that we can give you that at the end of the budget process. So we will always present you the personnel budgets without COLA, and then we will have them prepared with this number as well, unless you direct me to go a different direction than 3.8. And we do have, we won't have hard numbers on what that effect is going to be until we have everything completed and towards the end of the budget cycle. But here is it's a pay scale. This exact pay scale would be used, and then whatever COLA you decide, we would move the whole thing to the right, that percentage.
Just for what was it last year? You remember?
Well,
I know we went back and forth on numbers. And I didn't remember where we ended up.
Yeah, so we started out, the CPIU was 8%, but we ended up with a COLA of 5%.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and we did a couple of things. We started at 8%, well, we started at 6% and 8%, and then landed on 5%. So we looked at a couple different.
I knew it went back and forth. I was 5 was in my mind.
Yeah, 5 was, yeah, absolutely.
Wasn't trusting my memory.
Yeah, well, you nailed it though. So, and that, I just attached the pay policy just to remind you where it comes from. So that kind of goes through all of that as well.
We aren't even approving all these numbers yet. This is just.
It's usually, yeah, direction. If you want us to develop the budgets using that, the COLA portion of our budget, using that 3.8. So it is informational. We shouldn't have to have any motion or anything because we're not asking for anything. So just informational, unless you all have direction differently.
Updating what we've done.
Yeah, this is where for policy we would head to do our presentations, unless you guys want us to go a different way. I see some head shaking. Does that seem like?
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, okay. So kind of move forward with this, using this number, and we'll get you hard numbers towards the end of the budget process.
Yeah, that's one of the last things we did,
Yes,
actually.
yeah, COLA is the last thing. Yeah, we will include merit increases.
Merit in the budgets, in the COLAs, separate.
Yes, yeah, and we'll give you each of those personnel budgets with COLA and a total number of COLA impact for the county. Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, thank you very much, commissioners.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
I don't have anything else. Okay.
Just a reminder of tomorrow's meeting. It's an odd one, so hard to remember. Yep.
We can set an alarm to remind me. I'm sure I'm looking when you're gonna be calling me. It's 12:30, Greg. Where are you? Half hour away. I move we adjourn the March 14th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners.
I'll second that. It's been moved and second to adjourn the March 14th meeting of the Riley County Commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.